My wife and I had a quiet wedding in our backyard, just close friends and family. The next morning, we woke up to find our trash dumped all over the lawn and the word shame painted across our fence. Our neighbor denied everything. But when we finally reviewed the footage, it wasn't just her. It was her husband. In a suit. Throwing cake. And when we showed it to the police, he looked at me and said, "That's not just a neighbor. That's my brother-in-law." So last year, in late September, my wife Rachel and I got married in our backyard. Nothing fancy. No church, no banquet hall. We just wanted something small, private, and peaceful. It was the second marriage for both of us, and we didn't want the drama of a big wedding. No loud speeches, no dollar dances, no chicken dinners under chandeliers. We live in Fort Collins, Colorado, in a quiet neighborhood, mostly families, retirees, and a few rentals filled with CSU students. We've been here 3 years. Our backyard isn't huge, but it's cozy. We strung some lights between the trees, set up folding chairs, a long table with a white cloth, and played some soft jazz from a Bluetooth speaker. My brother, Rachel's parents, 2 of my old army buddies, and her best friend from Chicago flew in. It was intimate. Real. The night ended with laughter and cake. The good kind too, lemon and raspberry, no fondant crap. When the last guest left, we cleaned up a little, tied up the trash bags neatly, and left them beside the shed near the back gate for pickup on Monday. We went to bed happy. We hadn't had a moment of peace like that in years. It didn't last. The next morning, around 6:40, Rachel shook me awake. She wasn't speaking, just pointing at the window. I got up groggy, thinking maybe a deer was in the yard again. I pulled the curtain open. And I just stood there. For a long time. The yard was wrecked. Every bag of trash had been torn open and dumped out. Plates, napkins, leftover food cans, everything was spread across the grass and the patio. Our folding chairs were knocked over. The table we'd use for dinner was flipped on its side. Someone had stepped in the cake and tracked frosting through the dirt like they'd done it on purpose. But the worst part was the fence. Facing the alley, in huge red spray paint, someone had written one word, shame, big letters. Sloppy but loud. Angry. Rachel said. It was her. I know it was her. She meant Donna. Our next-door neighbor. Donna and her husband Craig have lived beside us since we moved in. They're probably in their early 60s. No kids. Retired. And miserable. That's not me being dramatic. Donna complains about everything. If our grass gets too long, she makes a comment. If we leave our porch light on too late, she asks us if we're trying to light up the whole block. She once left a note in our mailbox because she saw us drinking a beer on our front steps and said it was unclassy for the neighborhood. This woman acts like she runs an HOA, but we don't even have one. When we told people about the wedding, most of our neighbors were happy for us. Donna? She said nothing. I tried to be polite and gave her and Craig an invite. She smiled like she had a lemon in her mouth and said, "We'll pass." Not really into loud backyard parties. It wasn't loud. We were done by 9:30. But seeing the yard like that, it didn't feel random. It felt like a message. We called the police. Officer Bennett came out an hour later. Big guy. Calm. Early 40s. He took it seriously. Walked the yard, looked at the trash, took pictures of the paint. He asked us if we had cameras. We did. I'd installed a Nest camera above the garage the year before after someone broke into a neighbor's car. It wasn't a perfect angle, but it faced the alley and caught part of the backyard. I pulled up the footage on my iPad. At 2:13 a.m., the camera caught 2 people walking through the alley behind our fence. A man in a dark suit. And I don't mean a hoodie or windbreaker. I mean a damn full-on suit. Like a funeral suit. He was carrying a black trash bag and started throwing it over the fence into our yard. Right after him, a woman joined in. She was shorter, stiff-looking, and also throwing stuff over. Then the man walked right up to the fence, pulled out a can, and sprayed the word shame, like it was no big deal. Then they turned around and walked back into the alley. Their faces were clear as day. It was Craig and Donna. Donna even looked directly into the camera. No mask. No hat. Just her regular pissed-off face. I showed it to Officer Bennett. He leaned over, watching, quiet. Then his mouth got tight. He didn't ask any questions. He just stared a little longer, sighed, and said, "That's not just a neighbor. That's my brother-in-law." And just like that, I knew this wasn't going to go how I thought it would. I stared at Officer Bennett for a second. "What?" I said. I didn't even mean to say it. It just came out of my mouth. He rubbed his face and sighed again. "Craig's my wife's brother." Rachel stepped forward. "So what does that mean? You're not gonna do anything because it's family?" Bennett looked uncomfortable, but to his credit, he didn't walk away from it. "No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this just got a little more complicated than I'd like." I could feel the heat in my neck. "It's not complicated. We have footage. You saw them. That's destruction of property. That's vandalism." He nodded slowly. "It is. You can file a formal complaint. Press charges. I'll document everything. But you should know, Craig's kind of a protected guy. He's done some work with the city council, he volunteers with the VFW, and yeah, I've been to Thanksgiving with the man. It's messy." Rachel didn't blink. "File it." So we did. He took down our statements, gave us a case number, and told us we'd hear back soon. Spoiler, we didn't. 3 weeks passed. No call. No update. Nothing. I called the non-emergency line. Got passed around. One clerk said the case was still open. Another said, "There's no active investigation at this time." I asked for Officer Bennett. He was on leave. For how long? No comment. Rachel was pissed. "They're burying it." So I printed stills from the footage and brought them to the station. The front desk lady looked embarrassed. Said she'd get the sergeant. I waited 40 minutes. No one came out. Then one morning, I found something shoved in our mailbox. No envelope. Just a folded piece of paper. On it in neat cursive, "Drop it." No name. No return address. Rachel wanted to go back to the cops. I said no. Because I knew what this was now. This wasn't just about Craig and Donna being jerks. This was about control. Silence. Protecting a nice, public image. Donna was in the garden club. Craig went to veterans' breakfasts and knew the mayor. But I wasn't going to let it go. So I started digging. I called my brother Seth. He's a freelance journalist in Denver. Doesn't write for big names, but he's good with public records. I told him everything. The wedding, the footage, the message. He asked for names. Then he went quiet for a day. The next evening, he sent me a file. PDF. About 20 pages. Turns out Craig's not just a retired guy. He used to be a city inspector. Quit 5 years ago after some medical leave. But the file had notes, grievances from property owners, some pretty shady inspection inconsistencies, and one allegation that never made it to court. That Craig was giving his friends advance notice before city inspections so they could fix things in time. The complaint? Dismissed. The guy had history. Donna, too. I found 3 formal complaints from past neighbors, 2 for harassment, 1 for targeted behavior. All closed. But they added up. This wasn't some one-off act of pettiness. This was a pattern. And I had a plan. I printed copies of the footage. Made a little flyer. It read, "This couple vandalized our home the night after our wedding. Here's what the police did about it, nothing." I included screenshots from the footage. Faces clearly shown. I didn't list their names, just the picture and the alley angle, so people could figure it out themselves. Then I posted it on every local Facebook group I could find. Fort Collins Community Board. Northern Colorado Homeowners. Next door. Even the CSU Parents page. It exploded. Comments poured in. Some people were shocked. Some said they weren't surprised. Others said they'd had bad run-ins with Donna or Craig in the past. A woman named Cheryl messaged me privately. She used to live 2 doors down and moved after months of whispered crap from Donna. Then the story hit Reddit. Someone reposted it under r/neighbors from hell. A week later, a local news blog reached out. They wanted to do a piece on it. I agreed, on one condition: blur our faces, show the footage, and don't name the neighbors directly. They ran it. Guess what happened next? More people came forward. And one guy, Doug, a former city employee, emailed me privately with something that made my stomach turn. Craig had used his old inspector badge 2 years after retiring. Showed it during a complaint dispute at a rental property Doug managed. That was illegal. Doug agreed to speak on the record if it came down to it. Said he hated people like Craig, retired but still flashing old authority, trying to push folks around. He even sent me a security photo of Craig holding out his expired badge at a duplex near Mulberry Street. Now I had 2 things: 1. Footage of Craig and Donna trashing my property. 2. Evidence Craig had been impersonating a city official. Rachel kept asking if we should take it to a lawyer. I didn't say yes, not yet. I wanted to see how far Craig and Donna would push. Turns out, I didn't have to wait long. One morning, Rachel found our trash can had been tipped again. Small thing. Could have been wind. But then we found a handful of screws sprinkled across our driveway, intentionally. That wasn't wind. Someone wanted to pop a tire. I was pissed, but I held back. Instead of yelling, I got smart. I installed 2 more cameras, one hidden in a fake rock in the front yard, another pointing down the alley. Full view of the side gate. I didn't tell anyone. Not even Rachel. I also had Seth dig deeper. That's when he found something odd. Craig's name on a deed, but not for their house. For a second property outside of town, in Wellington. A rental. Listed under a small LLC. That wasn't the twist. The twist was, the house had been condemned a year ago due to a mold issue. The city ordered a full remediation. But no repairs had been made. Yet someone was still living there. Tenants. 2 college kids. I got their info from the property records and knocked on their door one Saturday morning. I told them who I was. Showed them the footage. Explained everything. They let me in. The house stank. You could smell the mold in the walls. The bathroom ceiling was sagging. One of the kids had a constant cough. They said Craig never told them anything about mold. Just that the place was old but solid. Their lease didn't mention the inspection at all. That was big. That was dangerous. That was a lawsuit waiting to happen. So I made one last visit. I printed everything. The photos. The footage. The inspection records. The fake badge incident. The rental scam. I made 2 copies. One went into a manila envelope labeled Media Packet. The other went into a similar envelope labeled For City Attorney. Then I slid both into the mailbox at Craig and Donna's house, just before 4 a.m. I didn't ring. I didn't knock. But I made sure the camera caught me. Let them know I knew. It took 2 days before the fallout started. On the 3rd morning, Donna was standing in her yard in her robe, shouting into her phone. She didn't look smug anymore. She looked panicked. Later that afternoon, Rachel got a message from someone in the Fort Collins Garden Club. Donna had temporarily stepped down from her position due to personal matters. Then Officer Bennett called. His tone was different now. Stiff. Careful. I just wanted to follow up on your complaint, he said. It looks like there may be a wider investigation going on now. I asked if it was about the footage or the rental house. He paused. Both. he said something else too. Something weird. There are people who don't like being embarrassed publicly, he said. Just watch your back. He hung up before I could ask what he meant. And then, something new happened. Someone tried to break into our shed. They didn't take anything, but the lock was busted and the door was wide open when I got home. That was it. I was done playing. I didn't go to the police this time. I called a lawyer. His name was Daniel Klein, old army buddy of mine. He was 2 years behind me at Fort Benning and now handled civil and tenant cases in Loveland. I told him everything: footage, vandalism, retaliation, rental violations, even the screws in the driveway. I handed him a full folder. When he finished reading, he leaned back and whistled low. Hell of a story, he said. You ready to light a match? I said yes. He filed a civil suit for vandalism and property damage against Craig and Donna. We also reached out to the 2 tenants at the mold house. They were willing to testify. So Daniel filed a second suit against Craig and his LLC for endangering tenants and failing to disclose a condemned property. It hit fast. Within a week, they were served. Donna tried to slam the door in the process server's face. Didn't work. 2 days later, we got a cease and desist letter from Donna's lawyer accusing us of defamation and emotional harassment. Daniel laughed when he read it. Good, he said. Means they're scared. Then things got dirty. Rachel's tires were slashed. Not once. Twice. The first time we thought it was just more of Craig's petty revenge. But when it happened a second time, and on the night before her work conference in Denver, I lost it. I stormed over to Craig's door. Didn't knock. Just stood outside yelling. He came out in a t-shirt and gym shorts. You better calm down before I call the cops. I said. Go ahead. And when they come, I'll show them the footage of you and your wife trashing our wedding. And maybe they'll be real interested in your mold house too. He went pale. He tried to say something, some excuse, but Donna came out behind him, red-faced, trembling, and screamed. Why couldn't you just let it go? That was when I realized something. This wasn't just about the wedding. This was about pride. Donna hated being ignored. Hated that we didn't treat her like she was in charge. That we didn't grovel. We got married in our yard, made it beautiful, filled it with laughter, and didn't include her. That ate her up. She thought shame would humble us. It did the opposite. The civil court hearing came 6 weeks later. We showed everything. The footage. The paint. The busted trash bags. The tenant testimonies. Photos of the mold. Reports from the city health department. Craig tried to claim we had altered the footage. The judge wasn't having it. Donna refused to testify. Claimed mental distress. They settled before the second hearing. Paid for damages. Paid the tenants. Agreed to sell the mold house and shut down the LLC. Judge ordered a no-contact agreement. But it didn't end there. Because someone had sent the full packet anonymously to the Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies. Craig lost his license. Not that he was using it anymore, but now he couldn't. Donna got kicked off every community board she was part of. Garden Club. Clean Streets. HOA Volunteer Board. She was officially toxic. They put their house on the market 2 months later. Below value. And the sign stayed up for 3 months without a single offer. Word gets around. I'd like to say that felt good. And for a while it did. But here's the truth, I lost a lot of sleep. So did Rachel. We started watching the cameras every day like we were living in a prison. Every noise outside made us flinch. Every slow car near our street gave us that pit in the stomach. Revenge is real. But it costs something. The night Craig and Donna moved out, I watched from the window. They didn't look angry. They looked exhausted. Hollow. Rachel came up beside me and said, "It's over." But I didn't feel relieved. I felt tired. I'd won. But I'd let myself become someone I didn't like along the way. If I'm being honest, I went too far. Not with the footage. Not with the lawsuit. But with the flyers. The public shaming. That was for me, not for justice. That part of me, that angry, wounded part, it wanted them ruined. And I got what I wanted. But the part of me that just wanted peace, that part still feels like it's waiting.